Okay, so this is one of the projects that you will be working on as a part of this course of Java and Selenium. Now, I have already set up this particular project on your local machine. So once you hit this URL, which is already shared with you, you have to click on uh, existing users and add user. These are the two places where the project is focused on. Now, let me start with going to my website, which has a description of what exactly you need to do in this project. So, give me a minute. So, let me take you to this particular page here. Now, in order to reach to this page, you can go to c2t.nchorasia.in. You can hover on courses and you can go to Selenium assignments. So, if you click on this, it will load a page like this in front of you, and then you can go to add user. Now this is a write-up as to what you have to do with this particular project, but I'm going to add a lot of more things for this particular project that you'll work on. So to begin with, let me go back to the screen or the project that you have to work on. You have to go to the existing users link on the top right here. Now you see this records here from 100 to 106. So what you need to do in this one is uh, so verify the number of rows in the screen first of all. So for example, let's say this is a table. You have to identify that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. So that is the first use case you have to write. Then second is verify the number of columns in the screen, that is ID, name, email, frame and actions. So you have to verify the number of columns. After that, you have to verify the color of the query button in the screen. So you can pick up any button, let's say for example query button, and you have to verify what is the color. You can make use of CSS selector or any other way you want to do it. It's up to you completely as to how you want to solve this problem. Then verify the update button is enabled clickable. So make sure that update button is clickable and you are able to click on this particular button. All right. So all of this has to be done with the help of testng. I mean, we are not going to write any more main methods, but rather we have to make use of testng framework. Now this is the first use case scenario for the project that you will be working on. Now, in order to make it more interesting and more complex, what you have to do is you have to create a framework that which we have already studied, the hybrid framework. So I'll talk more of that in some time. But this particular screen has to be addressed or automated with the help of a framework. And you have to make use of page factory model of page factory design pattern to work on this screen. So I hope you people will remember that we had looked at framework development when we were doing this course. So for example, this was an Excel sheet wherein you would define a scenario, and with the help of that scenario you would basically perform a particular test execution. So similarly, for this screen that you see in front of you here, you have to define a what you say a scenario in the Excel sheet. Now you also have to verify the labels here, the ID, the name, the email, the framework and action. These are the labels which are provided by the developer, for example. Now, in order to verify this label, you have to make sure that you have to read these labels from a properties file. We have had a long discussion as to what will go in a properties file and what should not go in a properties file, right? So you have to perform these actions with respect to verifying the maybe number of rows or number of columns with the help of Excel sheet. Try to write your own use case scenario. I'm not going to define or decide that for you, but let's make sure that we get a hang of making or building a framework that we have already worked on. Now, having done this, the next use case, which is a more complex use case, is add user. So you will click on add user here. Now when you come to add user, the first thing you have to do is, again we'll go back to the add user screen 2 here. So click on add user screen 1, validate. So in the second bullet it shows validate all the labels. So what it means that all these labels, your name, email, password, confirm password, all of this has to be validated that it is right or not. Now again, as I've already mentioned to you that you have to make sure that these labels they come from a properties file. So write a use case, for example, using TestNG framework, which will contain the test cases for each label, and you can, read the labels from properties file and verify that all the labels here are as per your expected result from the properties file. So you can create a separate file or a test-ng file for that. That is how you have to do validation of the labels which you see here. Now after you do that, you also have to do and data entry of this all the fields, name, email, password, and all these things. Now this is one place where if I were in your place, I would make use of parallelism. So I will create a single file for validating labels, and I will make use of a parallelism concept which I have already taught you in TestNG to spawn a new thread to do the validation of the labels in a different thread. Okay, similarly or simultaneously you will also create another class which will do validation or data entry of this particular data here in the form, which is name, email, all these text boxes that you see here. Now we have also looked at few other things in test engine which you have to make use of here. One of them is data provider. So you have to create an Excel sheet in front of you. So let's say this is an Excel sheet here. Now you have to create multiple records here, record1. So record 1 will have all the entries which should go here in this particular form, which is name, email, password. So you have to create record, let's say 10, 15 of these records, and you have to make use of data provider annotations to read the data from the Excel sheet and feed the data into this particular add user form. Now, while making use of data provider, also what you have to do is you have to make use of parameterization concept, meaning that based upon the parameter that you pass from a suite XML suite file of testng, it will either launch the test cases in your Internet Explorer or Firefox or Chrome. So with that you will be able to cover data providers annotation and parameters concept also in the case of testng. Now you can, what also you can do is that we are going to do some groups creation. I have talked about groups, I hope you people will remember. So when you work on groups, what you need to do is that you have to basically create a group of, let's say, mandatory fields. So let's say name is mandatory here, for example, email is, password is, confirm password is. So you have to create different groups. Maybe one of the group will be mandatory field, so that you just execute or fill in those mandatory fields. So that could be another use case which you have to work on. Now let me just go ahead and click on add button here. If I click on add, you will see that I did not enter anything in the confirm password, and therefore it shows as red in color, and this message is given here. So when you are doing data entry from the Excel sheet in this particular form, you have to take care of each fields, that if you leave it out as empty, are you getting the right error messages? As you can see here, so the name is required is an error message, which again will come from the properties file, and we have already discussed that why it should come from a properties file. Also along with that, same thing needs to be done for other fields also, and you have to also verify that when you don't make an entry in this name field here, the label of the name is red in color. Okay, so I hope you understand what I'm trying to say is that you have to do validations of all the error messages that are provided to you in this screen here. Okay, for that also you can create maybe a testng file. Now what else you can use here is you can use listeners. So let's say when listeners I had talked to you or discussed with you is that it's a concept wherein when a particular test case is failing, you might want to take a screenshot and store it. Okay, so when you are doing an invalid data entry here, for example, name is required and you don't put a name here, then in that case, in case of a test failure, as you can see here, you might want to take a screenshot and store it in your local drive in any directory of your choice. So that will take care of implementing listeners concept of testng we have covered so far. Okay, now another thing I want you people to cover as a part of this framework development is that you have to work on parallelism as well. So when you are when you are running the test cases for maybe labels for whatever use cases or classes that you define, you have to make sure that you spawn multiple threads to do multiple things for you. Meaning one thread could be running or one class could be running in parallel to validate only the labels, other could be running to do data entry for you. Okay, so that way you will get hands-on or practice with for parallelism concept that we have learned in TestNG. Now, all of this has to be done with the help of page factory design pattern that we have covered. You have to design a repository class for this. You are not going to create individual test cases, and that test cases having the code to find that element. So as we have already covered when we were looking at POM, page object model, or the page factory design pattern, we have to use this approach, so that for each screen that you are working on there will be a page factory, and you will have to use the annotations which we had covered. So if you cannot remember, this is what I am talking about. So let me switch my workspace to explain to you what I exactly mean. Okay, so let's have a look at what I was talking about. So I hope we have had a lengthy discussion with this page factory model. So if you will go here, this is the approach which we tried and built when we were working on login application of Guru 99. So if you go inside here, this is the strategy or the annotations we had made use of. So for the data entry form, you have to make sure that you have to do it with the help of page factory. Okay, so so make sure that you implement this will give you a real experience with respect to how you can actually make use of a page factory model, right? So that will definitely, this is the page factory I'm talking about, and this is the line number 43 here. I hope you remember from our discussions we had in the sessions that how and why we make use of this. Okay, now let's say I will make a valid entry of a user. So let me give here my name as Naresh Chaurasia, for example. Naresh Pesh Chaurasia. Then I'll give password as password, and then I will say add here. Now once you click on add, once the user is successfully added, you have to validate that this label is the correct label you are seeing here, and it is green in color, as you will see. You have to again verify it with the help of CSS selector. Also you have to validate these labels on the left side. These labels will again come from properties file. This text will also come from properties file, but this data which you have entered here is, this is the data which you have read from the Excel sheet. So when you reach to this particular screen of user added successfully, you have to make sure that the details which are showing here, like 108 Naresh Chaurasia, these are all correct and they all confirm with the values which you have read from the Excel sheet. Now having come this far, what you have to do is, after adding the user successfully, you will go to existing users and you will verify whether that user is successfully added with the ID 108 here, as you can see, with the other details. Now here you have to again click at the query button. Once you go to the query button, you will have these details. So again you have to validate these details with the details you entered from the Excel sheet. Okay, now again I will go back to existing users. Now you have to click on update operation. After clicking on update operation, you can go and change maybe one of the fields here. Modified, I'll make it Naresh Chaurasia modified, and then again you will go and hit on I'll enter my password again, and I hit on or click on update. So you have to make sure that that particular field which you change has actually got modified, and then you can go back to existing users and make sure that it is updated here as well. So this will become one complete cycle or one complete use case of successfully adding a user and updating a user. Now, apart from that, you also have to maybe delete one of the users. So you have to verify the delete functionality as well. So you can click on delete button here, for example, and you will see that record has got deleted here, and you will be able to see this label that user is deleted. So make sure that user is successfully deleted, and you have to maybe assert this value as well, that user is deleted. Now, all of this has to be done with the help of a framework. You have to build a framework similar to the one I have taught you, an hybrid framework, which makes use of Apache POI to read data from Excel sheet, TestNG, page factory model. All right. Now, apart from this, what also you have to do is that you have to create your suite files. Suite files also is something which I have already taught you as a part of the course. So if you will go to, I hope you people remember that I had taught you some suite files, how to create suite files. So please make use of this suite files as well. Now, after having completed this, you also have to integrate this whole project with Jenkins so that you can execute this particular project with the help of Jenkins. So I guess you people remember. If not, let me help you recollect it. So we will go to the directory where your Jenkins is. For example, my Jenkins is here. So I will go to Jenkins. Once I go to this directory, here I will execute the command to run my Jenkins. So it is java-jar jenkins.var. So this will bring up my Jenkins, and I have already taught you how to execute a Maven project, and executing the test engine test cases using Jenkins. So this will be end-to-end integration of your test cases with Jenkins. So please make sure that you implement Jenkins as well as a part of this project that you are going to work on. So let me just go back to this particular page here on the browser, and I will open my Jenkins. So it is the URL is localhost colon 8080. So if I will go here, so it will ask me to log in here. I'll log in with my credentials. Okay, it says invalid. Let me try with another ID. Yes, Naresh, I'll say remember me on this computer, and I'm able to successfully log in. Okay, now once I successfully log in, I had worked with you with a Maven project as to how you can create a Maven project. All those details are already shared and they are available in the YouTube videos if you need to refer to them again. So I hope you people remember that we had created a batch file, and that batch file which contains which is basically so 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 all of this which you are seeing here, we have already worked on, and how to create a basically a Maven project to be executed with the help of Jenkins. So the end result of this project that you are working on, whether you do it with the help of Maven, where you have to define the POM file here, pom.xml, and execute your gold as test, or you can even choose to create a non-Maven project. So for example, this is first project freestyle. It is not a Maven project. You can go to configure, and in this we had this batch file. I hope you people remember what goes in this batch file. I had already shown and shared with you. Again, it is part of the recording. You can go and look at the earlier recordings on YouTube. Okay. So this project will give you end-to-end experience with the help of using all the features that we have covered so far, and then subsequently integrating this project with Jenkins. This way you will have a good hands-on experience. This might take you maybe a few weeks or maybe a month or 2 months, but please make sure you use as many features as possible that we have covered, and this will be your project which you can showcase as a actual project you have worked in your company, or maybe a real experience project that you have. Okay, so that's all I have for this particular project. I'll add more projects that you will be working on, but for now this is what I have. Please spend time and do as much as you can. If you need help, you can reach out to me. Thank you so much for your time.